Okay, welcome everybody. Hey, this is Bridget Saladino. I am here today with Dr. Kathleen Friend. Kathleen is a child psychiatrist, a parent, and a heart rhythm meditation teacher. She is on a mission to help grown-ups tune into their hearts to truly see the unique greatness of each child and themselves. She says she believes this is the best way to move forward in today's world, each person understanding and using their special gifts to contribute to an evolving global community based in mind and heart.
Mm.
That, Kathleen. So, welcome. Thanks for
Hi.
joining me today with this fun little interview preview thing we're going to do.
Hi, Bridget. I'd like to meet that person you just talked about. I'm still growing into my greatness,
There you
as
go.
we all are, right?
Right? Well said. We're all growing into our greatness. I love that. So, you have been, not to age you, because you have this amazing glowing skin, but you've been doing this work for a long time, right?
I have. I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been working as a psychiatrist for over 30 years, but I've just been really fortunate in I would say over the last 10 years. I've had this great fortune to be exposed to so many other kinds of things. Um, and it's really expanded my view of the way I look at people. And this concept of greatness, I've written 3 books about greatness. It's very near and dear to my heart. It has become such a pivotal part in my life, and honestly, it really grew out of a need to solve a problem. And the problem, I mean, just briefly, 'cause, the problem was
Yeah.
the kids looked really miserable. I'm a child psychiatrist, and kids just look miserable when their parents would come in and tell me about their problems. And so one thing led to another, and I was just onto the greatness track. But more recently, I've been very concerned about adults and ourselves.
For good
And
reason.
yeah, I've had some experiences in this past year that gave me an opportunity to be with adults and expose them to some experiences with other people where other people really reflected back greatness qualities that they could see in the person and the impact that that had. And I realized, we talk about it, especially in Nurtured Heart approach, which we're both trainers, doing it for children and everything. But we're not getting it. We're not getting this kind of mirroring back for ourselves. And anyway, I saw how potent it was for these grown-ups who had done actually this was a group of people who had done a lot of work on themselves, and yet it still was so profound.
Mm.
So, based on that experience, I decided to put together some new materials for us adults
Mm.
around greatness.
Wow. Okay. So, I love the group that you just described, and I can't help but wonder if it was the group that I was in that was so powerful. But if it wasn't,
It was a different one.
you're out there just leading groups left and right and bringing people to their greatness. I love it. Okay,
Yeah,
so
no, this was the group of business people,
yeah.
actually. They knew nothing about Nurtured Heart approach, but I'm telling you, it's just such a gift for other people to be seen in their greatness. So I wanted to put together a workshop to really drill down into this. And do you have any questions about
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I do. I do. I have a lot of
Okay.
questions about it. Okay, so to me, it sounds like you've got a workshop coming up this weekend, right?
Yeah,
And it
and it's
sounds like
online.
it's online. Yeah, it sounds like it's kind of the intersection of psychology and nurtured heart approach. And I don't know if that's the right way to frame that, but I kind of like the idea of these two, schools of thought, or these two modalities sort of intersecting in. So that's kind of how I'm framing it in my mind. But
Sure. Yeah, that is part of the intersection for sure. There's more, but on the psychological side, we're going to look. This is going to be an experiential, in part, an experiential workshop where people have an opportunity and a chance to give themselves the gift of some time to focus on, well, where might I be having barriers to seeing my own greatness?
Mm,
Where are they? And oftentimes they are these emotional or mental issues, like limiting beliefs we have or old wounds, so all of that really fits into the psychology world. But I'm also involved with a spiritual school called the Institute for Applied Meditation, and I'm teaching this course in conjunction under their auspices.
mm,
It's called Institute for Applied Meditation. So in that um, way of thinking, greatness starts to really become these idea of our soul qualities.
mm,
Something really deep. I really want people to uncouple the idea of my greatness is what I do. My greatness is what I've accomplished, as opposed to who I be. Now,
mhm,
I might not be where I want to be yet. A
mhm,
few of us are. But we don't wanna be blind to what's already great and discover those things, our deeper qualities inside of us. Because I think that if we get clearer on those things, it helps us figure out, well, honestly, what we should be doing in life, our
mm,
meaning and purpose.
mm,
I think it's very hard to get clarity on. I mean, I deal with a lot of people who are concerned with meaning and purpose.
mhm, mhm. Well,
They don't. Yeah, go ahead.
ultimately, most of us are. I mean, when we reach a space or a place in life where we have room to, breathe and think about growing, right? That's where most of our sort of reflective questions take us to. So
Right.
I love that that's where your heart and where this workshop is going to take people. So when someone,
So it's just real quickly, just so in a
yeah,
way, it's kind of this intersection between looking at our strengths, whether they're our natural greatnesses, or learned things, intersecting with our passions in our heart. Like what matters to us? Like what do we love? What do we care about? So there's one intersection there. And that intersects with purpose in my mind. That's like this sweet spot between the wishes, dreams, ideals in our heart and our greatness qualities. You put that together, I think you've really got this alchemy.
oh, beautifully said. Alchemy. I love it. So, Kathleen, you've got this workshop this weekend. We're talking about purpose and greatness and this beautiful intersection and overlap. Um, I guess my question is, what can people expect to leave with, to sort of gain? Is it a better understanding of themselves or a sense of purpose for their life? Or, and these are not, your only choices. So fill in the blank. What can people expect?
Sure. Well, I'm really hoping that people do walk away with a bigger, more expanded self concept and to discover more about themselves beyond their accomplishments.
Mm,
And also to, let go of some of those default stories that keep you small, that keep us small.
mm,
There's other, we're going to talk about what are our barriers. Like, do we have implicit biases around greatness? That's a very loaded word. For some people, they can't even. That word is like nails on a chalkboard. So, the other thing is why it's important to see greatness in the here and now and not just in the future. And then, of course, trying to see if we can find a way how knowing our greatness can help maybe, maybe help clarify and us to live into our purpose.
mm.
So that's very ambitious. I'm a very ambitious person.
I was gonna say that sounds
I
powerful.
know it's a lot. I always try to slow myself down, but you know what? If one of those things happens, and so in a nutshell, we're just going to talk about what is greatness, how do we find it, and what do we do with it when we find it.
What
That's
do we
kind of what it
do?
boils down to.
I love it. What do we do with it when we find it? That's great. Okay, so who is the ideal person to attend?
People listening to this, and it resonates.
Okay.
I think the ideal, but no, in all seriousness, the ideal person for this is, I think, really of any age. Um, not children, but young adults, older adults, older people who are even at a stage of their life where it's like, you know, well, I was doing this stuff all these years, accomplishments, and like now what? And like, a lot of people have lost their meaning and purpose around that retirement age. And
Mm.
so for that group, this could be particularly potent.
Wow. Yeah.
You
Okay.
know? I think
Um,
in therapists, I think if there are coaches and or therapists out there, I think you'll pick up a few ideas and tools that you can
hmm,
work with your clients.
hmm. Wow. Okay. That's a great audience for this that I hadn't even considered. Um, okay. Um, I want to unpack the word greatness a little bit. I love the cute. I mean that in, the sweetest, best sense. I love the title of this class, the G word, greatness, right? It's just very clever, cute name. And you're sort of being playful with this word that you just talked about being kind of a trigger for some people.
Yeah.
And um, so why do you think it's a trigger for people? And what is it about the word that you love so much that you've included it in the title of 3 books? So let's unpack the word greatness a little bit.
Well, part of this is going to be done in the workshop because I really think
Mm.
it's an individual thing for people. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think that when I'll just speak for me personally. I think that when I got away from the notion that greatness was associated with what I do or what I did or my accomplishments, it got exciting because I
Mm,
wanted to know more about who I was. And I really wanted to understand, well, what is really unique about me? I really, I mean, we are all completely unique. And most of us don't figure out what that unique thing, we don't drill down enough into what that really looks like. And if I or anyone else is really unique, well, the next conclusion is, well, then there's something in the world for us to do that's ours to do. That you hear people talk about this, like, every person has a specific mission in life or something. Well, it's kind of a natural consequence. If we really do understand that unique fingerprint, it kind of comes out of that. And when you recognize, like, wait a second, maybe because I have A, B, C, and D, I can do X, Y, and Z, and somebody else can't. Wow, that's really important. I mean, it might not be the most, I don't know what it is. It could be baking cakes for your neighbor. I don't know what it is, but we each, this recognition that, um, wow, like, I really have something that's unique to contribute. And if I don't do it, it's not going to get done.
mm. Wow, beautiful. All right. Mm. I'm
So
just,
that, I guess that got me over all my resistance to it.
mm,
And I also recognize that a lot of people who kind of talk about their greatness or boast or get arrogant, big ego trips around, those people oftentimes really don't feel great at all.
mm,
In my work as a psychiatrist, I know that usually what's underneath that is actually feelings of not so great. So
mhm,
I actually think finding your inner greatness helps with that. And I think people who really do know those things about themselves, they don't tend to shout it from the tops,
mhm.
the way other people. can and make it look like a big ego trip.
Okay, what a beautiful segue. Can you model for us what what that looks like to own your greatness? So what
Mhm.
greatness of yours, Dr. Kathleen Friend? Let's start with your name. Who gets a last name of Friend? That's just
I know,
delightful.
right?
That's so delightful. Um, so what is your greatness? What are some of your greatnesses?
I think one of my biggest greatnesses is creativity.
Mm,
And I love learning things. And that is a greatness I have. I always want to learn new things.
mm,
I'm never particularly happy with the status quo. So I'm always kind of pushing on the edges of things. Um, I also think that let's see, what other greatnesses do I have?
mm,
Um, I have a lot of heart. I do I care about human beings, and the human condition, and I really um, I think I'm kind, um, and I'm an optimist. That's a
mm,
greatness that I have. That in spite of everything, I really am an optimist.
The world needs so much more of that. That's a wonderful greatness to have and to own.
I, I don't even know how I got it. I don't even think I was like this when I was younger. I wasn't quite this optimistic,
Mm,
but I remember always being very struck years ago by what Anne Frank said in Diary of an Anne Frank, and that line about how, in spite of it all, I still think it's a beautiful world or people are beautiful. I'm totally misquoting it, but it was of this incredibly optimistic stance, and that always stuck with me.
mm,
And I didn't realize until years later how much of that I have in me. It was kind of covered over for a long time.
mm,
But when I really started understanding that that was part of how I was put together and not being apologetic for it, or people saying, "Oh, you're naive or you're Pollyannish." I go, "Yeah, I am. Yes."
Just own it so boldly. I love it. Did that change your life? Did that manifest
Yes.
more greatness for you? How
Yeah.
did starting to own your own greatness impact you personally?
Yeah, there actually is a story around that. I don't know how much time we have, but for years I'll make it really short. But for years I felt very restricted as a physician because it wasn't like inside I identified kind of as an artist, not a fine artist. I liked music, but I knew inside I was sort of the artistic type. But I had become a doctor, and I was good at it. But I felt that it wasn't a creative. I couldn't use my creativity, so it was always a war between this doctor side and artist side. Well, there came a point where it came together.
Mm,
I said to myself, "Wait a second. If you're so creative and artistic, then apply it right where you are in
mm,
medicine." And that's when the Greatness Chair was born and I started writing the books. I
mm,
just put it together. And
mm.
I went, "You're right." I to myself, "You're right. I'm not really limited by I think I'm limited." You know what? Nobody really knows what I do when I shut the door when I'm with patients. Do what you want. So I made the Greatness Chair in my office, then I wrote a book, and I mean, I just kind of, went on from there. And now I realize that nobody's stopping me from using my creativity.
Mm. Wow.
Only me.
Mhm.
There's limits, of course. I'm not infinitely creative, but that's another issue.
But you are very creative. So I want to take a second and learn a little bit more about the artist, Kathleen. So
Uh-huh.
you are a musician, which I resonate with. Um, Tell me about your musicality. Tell me about your
My
music
goodness.
interests, passions.
Well, I've loved music, ever since I was a baby, literally. My mom told me I always loved music. I always sang in school. I used to play an instrument. I wanted to go to music school, and
Mm,
my parents told me no. I mean, they said, "No, you're gonna." I was the oldest, the firstborn. I was some. I It seemed like I was kind of a rebellious late '60s kid, but inside I really wasn't rebellious. I actually followed their path. My mom wanted to be a doctor, so guess who took the torch? Me.
mm,
And
mm.
I did it. And I 'cause now and I don't regret it now. But anyway, I wanted to be a musician. I knew that I had great passion for it, and my talent was not at the same level as my talent. But that doesn't mean I didn't have any ability, but it takes a little bit of both. I mean, it takes hard work, passion, but it's hard to make it in music, and my mom was right. I didn't have that. But anyway, so I gave it up for years, really gave it up for years.
Oh,
One
wow.
day I was sitting with a patient, I was in my early 40s, and I heard almost like a voice, and it is my inner voice said, "If you don't do music again, you're going to die." I went,
Wow.
"What?" And I knew I knew it was talking about my soul, I wasn't gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
physically die. And so, right after I heard that, I went and auditioned for a chorus. I was in Madison
You
at
walked right out
University.
of the meeting with the client?
Well, not exactly, the next day. And I went and found out how I could audition to just be in a chorus at the university. I was in Madison, and I did that. Well, that led to a whole thing. I kept singing. Ultimately, I went to music school in
Oh.
my mid-50s.
Oh my gosh.
I
Wow.
quit my job. I went to music school. I got my degree in voice. Yeah,
Oh.
and I knew I wasn't going to be a musician. I knew that, but I had to satisfy that in my soul. And I came out, and when I came out, again, I used my creativity to develop an integrative psychiatry practice. This was back in Massachusetts, but I developed it. I didn't have a floor plan. I didn't have a structure. I literally made it up as I went, and it worked great. I made up an integrative psychiatry practice without a role model, without a mentor. Like, who does that? I mean, I wish I had had some. Believe me, I would have reached out, but there weren't any. Anyway, now there are fortunately lots of role models. Anyway, so that's my music thing. And after I finished music school, I felt satisfied. I still sing with groups,
Hmm.
you know, and I'm okay with that. I play piano. Uh,
Hmm.
Poorly, but I do play, and I love piano, and I wish I would spend more time doing that.
Wow.
But
So
I am a musician through and through.
wow, that's so wonderful. I mean, you can see the vivaciousness even in the beautiful shirt you're wearing today. Like you have this, your children's books. I'll just do a quick little plug, The Greatness Chair and Sarah in the Greatness Chair. So I love this book so much. I give it out as a gift to
Thank
people.
you.
It is just a beautiful, simple way of reframing, which is what, the nurtured heart approach that we're both involved in. And, you know, the work that you're doing, it's really about reframing. And so I love, love, love that book. But
Thank
you can feel the joy of an artist in your work.
and I did tell the illustrator what to do. You don't normally get to do that in a book, but I did. I mean, I did not draw those illustrations. I can't do that, but I am very visual, and I had a lot of input into what those
Oh,
illustrations were.
wow.
And the feeling in those pictures, there's a feeling, right? That's me. That I communicated somehow she picked it up. I told her,
Mm.
"This is what I wanted to feel like when you look at those pictures."
Mm.
Kind of little old-fashioned in a way, like that beauty,
The
little
beauty in
beauty
this. Yeah,
and old-fashioned and not look like it's computer generated or something, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought the illustrator did a fantastic job.
Well, together you did a fantastic job. So you mentioned that my voice carries, and so since you're a musician, I will tell you this funny little story. My dad is a kind of a hobbyist opera singer.
Ah,
And so I grew up with the classical music and going to the opera and singing all the time. When I was young, my dad was a pastor in a small town, and we were the special music at our church and every other church in the county. And so we would hop in our car over the weekend and we would go do a half a dozen different, church services, family singing, county
wow.
fairs.
Yeah.
So I grew up singing, and I spent so long like learning how to project my voice, the first half of my life basically, that I feel like the second half of my life I've been working on modulating my voice. It's-
Oh,
because I think once you get that kind of power that only a singer knows how to harness the
mhm.
voice,
Yeah,
right?
yes, I know what you mean. I know
Yeah.
sometimes it can be a little bit intense.
Yeah.
My own son sometimes he'll say, I mean, right now I have a cold, so maybe my voice isn't projecting, but sometimes I'll say something and he'll just the energy is
Mm.
too strong. Like he'll
Yeah.
think I'm yelling or something. And it's like I'm not, I'm really not, but
Right.
there's an energy in it. But I would say to you that I actually really enjoy your voice. And I noticed right away the projection and the beautiful full resonance in your voice. And so don't turn it down too much, please.
Oh, thank you. Gosh.
Very it's a delight to hear somebody who owns a full voice.
Wow. Gosh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm gonna breathe that in. Thank you.
Yeah, you are the greatness of resonance.
Wow. Look at you. I love it. Okay, well, this has been wonderful,
Should I
Kathleen.
tell people how they can go to the workshop?
Oh, please. Yes. Yes.
If you're listening if you're still listening, the workshop will be this weekend, Friday,
The
April
14th.
14th, um, starting at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and then there'll be 2 sessions on Saturday, starting at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and then a second session at noon Pacific time. And, it is being the all the registration, everything goes through I Am Heart. So, it's literally iamheart.org, iamheart.org, and follow the links for whatever events, and there's a registration there, and I
Okay.
would love to have I mean, part of my mission, honestly, is to put 1,000,000 kids in the greatness chair, but I
Mm.
feel like, I've expanded that. I just want, like, 1,000,000 people in the greatness chair,
Right? That
right?
is a plenty big and wonderful and beautiful mission. And you're doing it,
I'm
right?
showing up,
You are
and
showing up. You're
I
putting
want
people
people
in.
to come to the workshop, and I just want people to show up and explore, be
Mm.
open, discover, be a little vulnerable,
Yeah.
let it down a little. And really, I'm telling you, there is gold in digging into yourself beyond your accomplishments.
Mm. That's a perfect closing line. I love it. Well, Kathleen, thank you so much. It's been lovely and delightful to chat with you, and I'm excited for your workshop, and I know it's going to be wonderful. And thank you for all that you continue to bring and give to, the community and the world at large. And um, I see your fingerprints all over my house and in my daily life and thinking, and I'm very grateful.
Thank you very much.